As India progresses on its journey towards achieving carbon neutrality by the target year of 2070, the transportation sector also has to play a very, very significant role. In that, there is the scope of biofuels and other alternative fuel options to play their role and make the journey cleaner and more sustainable. And of course, in addition to that, there is a safety angle also. To discuss about all these aspects and how India is progressing on these fronts, and also how India's opportunity to be among the leading hubs globally for testing and validation, we have with us Dr. Reji Mathai, who is the director at ARAI, or Automotive Research Association of India. Dr. Mathai, thanks for sparing your time and having this conversation with us.
It's a pleasure.
At the broader level, biofuels, the focus is rightfully more now than ever before, right? Even if you look at the overall environmental aspect, as the Earth faces a never before environmental challenge, the role of biofuels is all the more crucial, right? And in the transportation sector as well.
Yeah, I mean, this is one area India has been always focused about, primarily because of our imports and the energy security concerns that we have been facing. So I can very clearly say that from way back when we were doing our post-graduation studies, at that time itself the focus was there. But when it really got the acceleration was maybe last decade, when the focus started more and more on it. And can we go ahead with much more blending? Because at that point of time, if you say the average blending, although the permissible was around 10%, the pan-India blending average hardly used to be 2%, 2.5%. So the focus started, and then at that time, the biofuel program very clearly mentioned that 2030 is the timeline that we should have 20% blending. So when government did a relook into it, they formed this group under Niti Aayog with broad stakeholders and carried out the plan, and they launched this program in 2021, saying that we will prepone it to 2025. Right. So as you rightly mentioned in your remark, it addresses multiple areas, means it checks multiple boxes. Primary one being our energy requirements for the mobility sector, addressing the agricultural requirements where we have a robust mechanism where the farmers can produce and it can be fed in. And lastly, taking the biogenic content or bringing in more bio component into our fuel. So multiple check boxes are there. Yes, there are a few concerns, and there has been studies systematically done. Government never pushed it through saying that no, it has to be implemented. So there were studies, very planned studies. Way back as in 14 to 16, there was first phase started with BS4 and all that. The second phase, when BS6 kicked in, again there was a study done on various vehicles with older vehicles. And then it was implemented from 2025, looking into the demand and supply both, taking into consideration.
Right. Though the E20 norm kicked in from April 1st this year, it's only the last, let's say, few weeks or so, that's where the discussions around E20 and also the concerns, so to speak, given that, let's say, for example, ethanol has a 35% or so lesser energy value or calorific value compared to petrol, and therefore the possible impact on fuel efficiency, and also because of, let's say, of the corrosive nature of that fuel, the potential damage it would cause to vehicles. So these are the concerns that are there even in the consumers' minds. So some of them could be well informed, some of them may not be so. So can you draw the picture for us in terms of how much concern should we be, and also from an industry perspective, what kind of interventions are being done, let's say in terms of recalibration of the engine or things like that in terms of material. I understand from 2023 onwards, the industry players have started building cars with E20 compliant materials. So beyond that, what kind of interventions are being done to offset, let's say, the inherent disadvantages that comes with the adoption of E20?
So when we say the E20, the existing was E10 blend.
E10.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there is a 10% increase. Although the ethanol calorific value lower, maybe as you mentioned, maybe around 30 to 40% lower than what is of gasoline, but the blend is hardly 4%, 5% because the component is hardly 20% in that.
Right.
So compared to E10, it may be another 2 to 3% lower than what E10 was offering. So if you are comparing E10 as a baseline, which has been compared for all studies, that variation we have observed in the performances also regarding the reduction in fuel consumption, more fuel consumption because of this lower calorific value. But regarding corrosive nature and all, this has been studied and anti-corrosive agents by petroleum companies are added into it. So this is taken care of. Material compatibility had been a little challenge because certain materials, particularly the elastomers and rubbers that were in contact with the fuel, had deterioration, shown deterioration in an accelerated test. These are lab tests which predict the complete life sort of a thing. But almost 1 lakh kilometers of field evaluation, studies done by CIAM members, including which were monitored. 1 lakh kilometers cumulative means almost 2 vehicles completing around 30 to 40 or 60 kilometers, so 2 bringing around 1 lakh, which are predominant vehicles in the market. For two-wheelers, also around 6 to 7 vehicles were run for almost 30,000 kilometers, 30 to 40 or 20,000 kilometers.
In real world conditions?
In real world conditions. So this test normally spans around 6 to 8 months. So this has been done. So the current concerns that it may show some failures never came during those trials. None of these vehicles had any abnormal performance because of E20.
2 or 3 4-wheelers?
Both. Two-wheelers and the 4-wheelers. So that's why this transition was taken over. So this have been built in and this has been submitted to the government. So these studies were carried out. So such fears, I think we have just like anxieties for EVs.
Yeah.
Okay. People say I need a charger, but they seldom use it. So I believe these are mostly built on that. People have the anxiety because there has been multiple talks happening, but scientifically the studies have been done and CIAM has been a part to it and they all agree to that. Okay, there has been on an accelerated test, there are challenges. So accelerated test in many cases, even if you take some certain samples, may fail randomly here and there. Now, if you say before E20, were not engine failures seen? Yes, there were seen. So how many percentage? There are few engine failures happening and we keep on getting certain complaints about. There are randomly happening that because of upkeep, because of various reasons and all that it happens. Now with E20, will it be seen? Yes, it will be seen. But can we be ascribing it to E20? That is not a right way to look at it. We have gone with multiple purposes as we initially told. Not only our energy security, the ambient air quality, various things we have looked into and moved ahead. So I think in our stride, we should take it positively. And particularly, we are looking ahead for attaining net zero and all. So this is the right direction, I think.
The positives would be the reduction in greenhouse gas emissions.
Perfectly.
Because of the use of,
yeah, there's a biogenic component in it. So the reduction in the fossil fuel usage, our import dependency starts reducing. So these are the positives and I think everybody will see this as a betterment and will move ahead in that direction.
Just to get a kind of clarity on that, you're saying that if the concerns, if at all, which are founded in the test, in terms of drop in, let's say, efficiency, is it fuel efficiency, which to the tune of 2 to 3% over E10.
4%, yeah.
2 to 4% or so. And in terms of degradation at powertrain level, no major sign has been seen.
No signs.
Yeah. And just to let our viewers know, it may, for everyone's knowledge, Dr. Mathai has had a very long stint, almost 3 decades in the oil industry.
Yeah, almost 28 years.
Yeah, 28 at IOCL, which is Indian Oil Corporation. And if I'm not wrong, Dr. Mathai, the theme of your PhD was
It was
study
on
also
hydrogen.
all
No, it's a hydrogen CNG at that point of time.
Yeah.
True.
So since we are all talking about biofuels, and which is a part of the larger bouquet of alternative fuels, tell us, one is, okay, ethanol and E20. I think the next step is E27 and E85 and E100. The other day, the petroleum minister at a conference also kind of let everyone know that some few hundred of pumps are already dispensing E100. So is the automotive industry ready for they also showcase some vehicles at the Bharat Mobility. So do we see an accelerated progression from E20 to E100?
So there is an interministerial committee currently working on it with MOPNG. The additional secretary MOPNG is now chairing that. So there are deliberations happening. I won't unnecessarily preempt or will say what is happening. But one underlying fact, what I will tell is, any new fuel will be brought in with substantial studies and scientific data. So people should not get apprehensive saying that if E27 have to be brought in, it will be just brought in. No. Or some few people will sit together and do that. No, it is not the way we have been working, and the industry understands it very well. Industry accepts it also very well. So it has to be done with a detailed studies. It will be much more detailed than what we have done in the past, because we don't want to get into any gaps or anything that, because we are increasing the percentage, the older vehicles are existing. So we have to really see how they are performing. So this design metrics of evaluation means what evaluation has to be done. This design metrics is being discussed as of now. So I won't say there is a timeline as such given for E27 and all. The flex fuel, which is up to E85 and an option up to E100 given. Currently, manufacturers are thinking very seriously about it, because they are also understanding government's requirement that there is an increase in supply of ethanol happening. How to address that? Because we have mapped our demand and supply. Okay, the demand with E20, how much it is going to come, supply how much should be. It can't be exactly mapped always. There will be some surpluses happening. So how to address? So the industry's viewpoint is the flex fuel is a better way forward, and the resulting mechanisms should be put into place. So there is this discussions happening in the IMC as of now.
I see.
So let us wait for the IMC report to come. I believe it will be fast-tracked in view of whatever discussions are happening. So that will bring a lot of clarity to everyone. What is the roadmap the government and industry stakeholders are putting forward?
And we talked about the concerns, this about adoption of ethanol. What happens, what have the studies shown in terms of the impact on older vehicles pre-2023? For example, I drive a 2022 year model. So should I be a little bit prepared in terms of doing some intervention in terms of, let's say, additives or something to kind of ensure that?
So when we did that evaluation, whatever we have studied, it has started from 21 onwards. The study spread across 23. The vehicles as old as 2015, 2016, 21, 22, all were looked into. So there was a good representation. The major representations were made in that. And in some cases, some of these manufacturers have told that their vehicles are materially compatible from 2014 or 8. So there are a few players like that also. So we can't judge on how it will impact this player there. But major representations were taken into care.
Yes.
And I don't think we have already had, 5-6 months after April. Before that also, in most places, E20 were supplied. Right. Almost an year or so from 24 onwards.
Automotive industry also started producing cars, I think, from September, October onwards last year.
23 onwards, anyway, materially compatible. It is there.
Yeah.
Beyond that also, they have already been supplying this fuel. So this fuel is being used in the existing vehicles for quite some time now. So we have not seen fuel-related problems on this aspect, E20 related problems. Because of E20, this has happened. No, we have not seen that. There are certain concerns which the government is looking into tightening it, which are not because of E20. How to address those, they are looking into. So as such, except a slightly lower mileage, you will not find any issues in your vehicle.
Okay, thanks for that clarification. And talking about alternative fuels, the other focus which the government is also focusing on is hydrogen. Okay. And no, I mean, in India, we have also taken the path of H2Is, for example. How do you see that part of the new energy pie in the automotive sector application progressing?
So this is one area where I think government thinking long term about the net zero, because they have to look into a component which does not have carbon. Okay, and hydrogen fits it perfectly in that bill. The challenges as such is we don't have any demonstrations or any pilots happen till now. So they have now put forward certain demonstrations. So we are the scheme implementing agency for that. ARAI is doing that. Underneath, there are, in the first phase, there are 5 players or 5 consortium, I can say, who have been identified. So there they will be putting hydrogen ICE, hydrogen fuel cell vehicles, buses, trucks. Now, mostly this is looked into for the heavy duty segment, the commercial vehicle segment. Smaller cars or smaller vehicles till now has not been taking up that part, because if you look at the consumption also, the heavier ones consume a lot. So if you address that, it is much better. Secondly, ethanol is doing some good work in the lower segment with petrol and all.
Okay.
But for diesel usage, there are no good substitutes as of now found. So it's a good substitute in that direction. The hydrogen can serve that. So these studies are in progress. So let us see, it will help us to form certain baselines. How is the performance? If indeed in the future we have to look into some policy making, what should be the basic fuel economy that should be got in, or which sectors needs to be addressed. So we will get substantial information through this demonstration that is happening. So this will run for another 2 years or so. And there are multiple sectors or multiple routes that have been identified. Next phase of it is going to be announced again. So another few routes will also come in. So what it will do is we will have hydrogen dispensing units at various locations in the country, which will enable government to decide, can certain sectors or can certain routes be dedicated for that, or can incentivize. So these are all areas that they have to really look at.
Okay.
But this is a real good push from the government, from the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, and it is going to be a very, very good change, country's initiatives, and making that statement that we are serious about this.
And also contribute to a sustainable transportation,
Exactly,
right?
exactly.
And so is there a thought process happening in the government about incentivizing the adoption of hydrogen also in the form of some?
So I think it's little early on that, but there are mechanisms now like the PLI, the production link incentive, and all that is happening. So government is bringing in now, initially they have done for the e-trucks, the electric trucks and all. I believe in the due course of time, they will be surely looking at it, because how the cost of the vehicle is going to pan out. So what incentivization is needed. So surely government will have a look into it. I think once this demonstration starts, takes off, players' interests, they see how much are coming in. So they will be in a good position to take those decisions.
You know, Dr. Mathai, when you talked about sustainability, there's a safety aspect also. I mean, it's about safer and sustainable mobility. So, and we have seen in the case of the NCAP, India adopting the Bharat NCAP after many years of global NCAP doing the Safer Cars for India program, under which many made in India cars were crash tested. BNCAP has rolled out. We have seen Indian OEMs faring quite well. And I believe the protocols are going to change now in the BNCAP 2.0. Could you throw some light on by when and what kind of changes would be adopted? Would it be in line with the global NCAP, or will India have its own protocols?
It has to be aligned with global NCAP. We are very clear about it. But certain India-specific requirements can also be brought in. So each country does that. Like Euro NCAP has got the most severe ones, but the global NCAP, GNCAP, is there prevailing over there also. So the Bharat NCAP has been looking into these areas, especially the GNCAP, what they have going to be in 2.0 and all. And there are many aspects that are brought in. There is a panel dedicated for that under the Ministry of Road Transport, which has formed that panel. And they give that information, and it is with industry members over there. So these deliberations are almost in the final stages because this has to be implemented from 2027 onwards. So I believe we can expect some notification in the coming next 6 months or so. Government may announce it because people have to be prepared for it. Mm-hmm. So there has been new things brought in, especially like some dummies with high fidelity used for testing. The women equivalent dummies
women
to be brought in.
Okay.
Some dummy, because previously it was almost like the men related aspects. From very infant child to some mid-year child, dummies are also now going to be tested. Rear impact test may start because looking into the fuel usage and our fuels that are coming in. So such things are going to make it little more robust and more akin to what is happening around.
Right.
So as we move ahead, as you rightly mentioned, this will become more and more safety conscious and safety intensive, so that the passenger safety, even the pedestrian safeties are more taken care of.
I think it's much needed also, and I think it potentially could play a very important role in bringing down India from that list of nations with the highest road fatalities, where unfortunately currently India is still at top, and we should get down to the as low as possible in that list, in that rank.
True. I think the number of vehicles that are growing, the road infra that is growing. Anyway, I'm happy that we are almost plateauing over the fatality rates, but still it is very high. So we need to start going down the plateau now. So let us look into it, how we can do that with ADAS related features. That also some of them are coming in the NCAP now. They are looking into the ADAS related features, how much you have brought in the vehicle. So these are going to help us to slowly come down that track. More intensive, I think, driver behaviors and all also aggressively have to be brought in. I think it's going to be a big basket.
So everything has to move together. Adherence from the user's perspective, enforcement from the lawmaker's perspective,
True.
And also these new interventions, right?
Perfect.
New regulations, norms.
Yeah.
I mean, talking about safety, and I was coming to that, good you touched upon ADAS. I mean, the role of technology, be it connected vehicles, ADAS key one, which can really enhance, contribute towards sustainable and safer mobility. So, and if in ARAI's case also, you're investing, or you have already invested a significant sum to develop infrastructure for ADAS testing and development, right? Could you throw some light on what stage are you in, and what kind of investments basically you have made or lined up in the near future for these some of these advanced technologies?
So we started way back in around 3 years before. Okay, so around 3 years before we started, and it was amply supported by the Ministry of Heavy Industries under the Capital Goods Scheme. So we augmented our testing facilities, and many of these dummies and those mobile things used for ADAS testing, we were the first to have in the country.
Oh, I see.
Okay. So we started it, and there was developmental test, and along with it we planned for a test track, dedicated tracks, because evaluating it in the roads with scenarios is not so easy.
So some of it are safety critical, right?
Exactly. So there are much complex things, India-specific roads, India-specific motions and all that. How will you simulate them? How will you validate them? So beyond that MHI support, the Ministry of Heavy Industry support, we on our own has now developed a track covering approximately 16 acres at Takwe in Pune, which we will be starting to use maybe by October onwards. So it is almost in final stages now. So there are plain tracks, there are S-curves, there are ramps, all those things coming into play. And these tests will help us in whatever simulations or whatever control mechanisms you have put in to validate it much faster. So this is one area that we have already put into place. Secondly, Ministry of Heavy Industry is now again in their support for the PME drive. They have given 780 crores to test agencies to enhance their testing capabilities. Almost all test centers, now not only ARI, it is ICAT
and
NATRAX,
GRC.
They are all now going in for such facilities under that scheme. We are also augmenting it, looking into how futuristic requirements like how fog will impact your sensors, how rain will impact these sensors. So all these things also we are now trying to build in, augment what we have already set into part. So we are, I can say, almost globally at par with this feature testing capabilities. The other aspect is making that softwares India ready. Okay, that is another aspect that is a challenge that is now being faced. These softwares were prepared for European requirements or the global requirements. Ease was to adopt it. Now customization of it requires substantial data. So there again, we have been collaborating with multiple players and trying to generate that. Even we are seeing how industry can contribute to it. So this is going to be the next phase of it, because everything is there. We don't want to reinvent the whole wheel.
Right.
Okay, data generation and training the software for various requirements are going to be there. The third and the last aspect is adopting test regulations for India specific requirement. We can't do a European test here and say that, okay, this is fine.
And which is why talking about the ADAS, I mean, there are cases where consumers, in fact, more than appreciating, instead of appreciating it, they are, in some cases, they get a little bogged by some of these features because of the algorithms that are perhaps not India specific. And therefore, they're causing inconvenience rather than convenience in terms of mobility.
So there may be a distance with vehicle to vehicle in Europe that is being maintained. We don't do that. Yeah. So there are going to be challenges. So this is what slowly now everybody is understanding and trying to build in. Evaluations also, okay, we can adopt whatever Europe has been doing to start with, but there are going to be India-specific cases slowly and steadily built in to understand that this ADAS is really suitable and responds to the need of the country. So this is going to be the next phase that we are seriously working on that.
And also, I mean, we have heard in earlier cases, I mean, let's say a technocrat like Dr. Pawan Goenka mooting the idea of a Bharat ADAS system, an indigenously developed a technology suite, even tapping into some of the other sectors like the space sector, for example. And are there any kind of active work on this front in terms of when it comes to new advanced technologies, emerging advanced technologies, not necessarily only in ADAS, but for automotive application for sure, where the ARAI is kind of really taking a lead role in terms of having this indigenized, localized solutions, which are, of course, because they are localized, they will be India ready also.
So these are particularly applicable for sensors. Softwares, we are very strong. We don't have a problem with softwares. We have that. Only thing is, as I mentioned, the data that is to be generated, and you need to validate and calibrate or train your software to use it for the India-specific requirements. The other aspect comes is the sensors, where Dr. Goenka was mentioning, and how sensors from space can be looked into, space application can be looked into. So this is something we are initiated discussions. The work is to their requirements is high reliability and sort of space constraints are requirements. I don't know. We have to really study that requirements and see how we can really translate it. But the technical know-how can be looked into and see how it can be translated. And this is a valid area where we need to collaborate. And as you mentioned, the diverse areas, I think automotive, the way it has moved ahead, especially because of the global harmonization of regulation. So everybody is at par, almost. There is a meeting at the UN level, global level, where we calibrate ourselves, we build our capabilities. The other sectors are not so much, India has not moved that fast, because automotive is a huge one for us and the stakes are high and we are very aligned to it. Whether, let me say, the other sector like, say, the railways. Okay. So we don't have that much robustness, okay. But slowly and steadily we understand the need. So we are very seriously looking into it. See how we can put up testing facilities so that manufacturing in the country or developments in the country can be accelerated. So we had a lot of meetings with RDSO. Now we are discussing with various other manufacturers. We have already started certain tests for them on wherever possible the relationships could be built in. The other area is drones. So that also we are now seriously looking into. So as ARI, our core capability lies with the automotive, but we can see a transitional things we can do. Along with that, this is an apt time why I say is India is looking into funding multiple research through ANRF, through other areas. The amount of money government is giving for research, we believe we can really play a key role aligning with the industry or with the institutes, bringing in consortiums together and taking the initial proof of concept sort of a research, TRL 3, 4, to a level of TRL 7, 8.
Okay.
From there, the industry can take over. So we can really do that much faster, particularly in this sector. So this is one area that we are very focused on and we really want to contribute.
Okay, Dr. Mathai, we highlighted, you very well highlighted about the importance and value of India-specific, India-ready technology. But that will also be determined by the level of infrastructure that we have for developing, testing and validation. So could you throw some more light on how are you progressing in terms of, in this aspect of infrastructure? And what kind of, which are the focus areas and the investments that you have made so far and you're planning to make maybe?
So we have got one I mentioned about the ADAS, already the tracks and the facilities. The other area we are looking at was, again, with Ministry of Heavy Industry support, was on putting up cylinder test facility. Okay, this is because currently we don't have a comprehensive facility for any type of cylinder. We have burst test or certain tests available at certain manufacturers' place. They get reports or design approvals from wherever their collaborations are. And we read across and this is the mechanism being going. But come the hydrogen evolution that is happening, we will require type 4 cylinders. And in our first phase, we are setting up this facility which covers almost all types of cylinders except hydrogen type 4. Because this requires a pressure cycler, which is a very unique testing. It is
up to what, 700 bar?
So it will be a 700 bar into 1.5 times, around 1,000 bar.
Oh.
Okay, so that cycling has to be done at 1,000 bar. Okay. So that facility we have, because it's hydrogen, a pressure cycling of 1,000 bar, it's a critical one. So apart from that and one or two tests like permeation test, where how hydrogen permeates into the system, we are almost ready. So we are putting up that request to government. Let us see how the support comes in. So annually, ARI now for capital investment, upgradation, new facilities, we touch around 200 crores. So we are on a regular basis for the last few years, we are putting these facilities. Why? Every test we look into how it can be made simplified. There are a standard tests that everybody looks at, but there are developmental tests which the industry needs to reduce the standard test cost and to accelerate the developmental work. One example is a high G sled. Okay, it's for high speed, for your belt anchorage, for your body, how your knees come and hit. So you can do a standard test and keep on iterating, but the whole vehicle goes. Your designs are much complex, so it becomes very difficult. So such equipments now we have put into place. And it is being used extensively by the people. Similar is the BSR, means rattle, squeak, and all that in a noise thing. So initially the seats and all, we do a standard test, finish them. But now we have put certain rigs into place. So with the anechoic chamber, so you can really say, okay, this is because of the aging of the seats that is happening. So we are trying to see what is the industry need, and industry has been very open with us in this matter, and we are quite happy with that. We keep meeting them, talking to them, see what is the industry need, trying to build those facilities in a systematic manner. So year on year, we keep on adding that. So we are adding a lot of places also because of that. We are short of space. Recently, we had acquired a 2.5 acre, approximately 2 acre land for complete electronics related evaluation.
I see.
Battery testing, we have now almost the advanced battery testing facility we have put into place, again with support of the Ministry of Heavy Industries, partially through our funding. We are looking into a EMC chamber test of a bigger capacity to support defense applications or construction equipment vehicle people. So we believe that these testing facilities need to be really augmented in a systematic and in accelerated manner to support India's growth and self-sufficiency. The other slogan we keep on making is test in India. Okay, the make in India, we say test in India. So government has been good with us in that the basic custom duty exemption scheme was brought in. Although there is one IGST component, we are still talking to government to waive it off also in that.
That's applicable for?
That is applicable if you want to import a vehicle, you don't have to pay the import duty. Your custom duty is exempted only for testing. So we can import it, we can do that, test it, and if it returns 6 months or maximum 9 months. If it is crash or anything happens, we have to give a scrappage certificate.
Okay.
So this has helped a lot of things to happen, and we have seen at least around 50 models of various types coming in for testing in the last almost 1.5 years.
Oh. These are by OEMs voluntarily, or these are initiated by ARAI?
No, these are OEMs voluntarily. Okay. They bring in from outside because testing is much more cheaper. We can do it much more validation, and they may be looking futuristic to bring things to India. So this has opened a very good window.
Oh, which means not only as a market, but not only as a manufacturing base, but also as a testing
hub. Exactly.
So India can really be up.
So this has been a good window for us, and this has put India into a really good map. Okay, so everybody now looks at, okay, there is a place for testing other than the established few players.
Right.
And we are in serious discussion with some of the manufacturers. We are telling them we can do almost all the tests that you are doing for even your European certification.
So what you are saying is, and that's a good slogan that you mentioned about test in India, because make in India will be truly make in India when it is designed and developed in India.
Exactly.
And for that, of course, testing, needless to say, is very critical. So are you saying that therefore, once all these upcoming projects are, let's say, commissioned, you can confidently say that we can be as good, if not better than India can be as good, if not better, as a testing destination as any other country in the world?
We need capacities more. We need much more capacities. See, we have felt it once in a while. Suddenly they want to shift a project, or there is a discussion, okay, this project can be taken up by you. So we have seen that our space requirements, but this is once in a while. So this is that chicken and egg sort of story. Should I increase the capacities so much? So we are gradually doing that. We are looking into various sectors. Now, as you mentioned, the auto electronic sector, we see it growing very fast because of the EVs, because of electronics coming in a big way into the vehicles. So this sector is one of the fastest growing one. So we need testing methodologies, much more capacities for that. So I think with government giving this funding of 780 crores that I mentioned at the PME drive, most of the organizations will be in place for that. And we will also be upgraded, doing much more testing in that. But beyond that, the safety testing also, looking ahead, there will be much more requirement for that. And so we have serious discussions on that happening. These are huge investments we have to make. So how to plan it, how to match it with the requirements. We should not be too early, otherwise then it is lying idle. We should not be too late because the industry needs it. So we are really optimizing it. What is the right?
So you're saying the capacity is in some cases, sometimes capacity is a constraint, but capability is there.
Capability is there. Capability is there. So, but see, it is very critical. People can't wait. They won't give you 1 month. Okay. So capacity has to be there. We see that. If somebody comes and asks me 15 days, can you do this test? So really I have to look in, and it becomes very difficult for me many a times. Because currently we are almost, all of our facilities are running at full capacity sort of a thing. And we don't have much bandwidth available.
Okay, that's, in a way, I would say it's a better problem to have than having a problem of inadequate capabilities.
Yes,
the
that is true.
capabilities in place,
That is-
but
but
yeah,
this is globally, this is a trend happening.
happening.
If a good testing facility is there, people have to wait.
yeah.
So that is happening globally. So we are not much worried about it.
Which is what it's also an opportunity for India to tap, right?
Perfectly, perfectly.
And also, this is a key year. I mean, at the beginning of this interview, we talked about how in 2025 is a key year in terms of India's progression in the cleaner or greener mobility, sustainable mobility journey with this whole E20 norms, and which will lead to, let's say, flex fuel and in the coming future, in the coming years. But for ARAI also, this is a key year because it's 60th year, right? For your
So
existence.
yeah, come 10th December, that's our foundation day. We will be starting our 60th year celebration. We were established in 1966. So 2025, 10th December to 10th December 2026. So 1 year we will be having that. So I think we have grown well. We have been instrumental to provide India the automotive leadership. We are very much part of it, and I feel quite satisfied with that. How we have been contributing and how we have been looking ahead, how we have been partnering, not only the government, but also the OEMs, also the customers. So we have been a real good player in this segment. Right. So quite satisfied with what is happening.
So now wishing you and the team all the very best. And just before we wrap up this, coming back to the topic of alternative fuels and biofuels, Brazil is seen as the global role model, so to speak, for when it comes to adoption of biofuels, especially ethanol. Do you think, in a matter of years, a couple of years, maybe people will discuss about Brazil and India in the same breath when it comes to, let's say, the adoption of biofuels, specifically, let's say, ethanol or flex fuel?
I think we have been in certain area ahead of Brazil. We are the only country with E20 and BS6 regulation.
Yes, of course.
Okay, and this is why the countries really look up to us, seek our inputs in many matters. This we have seen with very developed countries asking us in various forums. How are you managing it? What are the challenges? So if we move to BS7 in the coming days, it is still days ahead. And with E20, it's a big achievement for us, because the whole mechanism, the whole big automotive sector, it's a huge one, 7% of GDP bringing in this sector, moving ahead with that regulatory measures, adopting it. This is, I think, a unique proposition. And with the right direction that the government is moving ahead, the flex fuel coming in, we may be talked ahead of Brazil also, we can't say that.
And you touched upon BS7. I believe the very first set of, let's say, values which could form the foundation for the norms later have been kind of discussed in the industry for you to
the panels are discussing it. Currently, we normally are aligned, as I mentioned, it has to be harmonized globally. So we are means in participating in the UN regulatory meets and all. So certain values, certain methodologies are still being discussed and deliberated. So the Euro 7 itself has not been given a firm date. They have been announcing. We will be moving along with that, maybe a year or two lagging with what is happening and seeing the relevance. India-specific certain requirements has to be brought in or not. So these panels are under discussion as of now. So it is very much within the focus of the industry, of the government.
Okay. On that note, Dr. Mathai, always a pleasure talking to you, and thank you for sparing my time.
Thank you. It was a
very,
good time.
very interesting and insightful conversation.
Thank you.